Hi everybody, this video is about subject and verb agreement. It should be used alongside the KnowWriting.com program to help you find success with your grammar skills. So the first slide is about subject and verb agreeing in number, and we're going to begin by looking at the subject of the sentence and determining if it is singular or plural. So in this case, Jenny's friend. We have one friend, so that's singular, and the rest of the sentence is in a good mood. Is the verb in this sentence, and we also need to ensure that it is a singular verb so that it matches up. One friend, singular verb. And if the subject was plural, then we would need a plural verb. So we're looking at the or and nor with singular subjects, and this one is a little bit tricky to explain. So the trick that I always use is when I see or and nor used with the subjects, I isolate it and I remind myself that it wouldn't be them together. It's one or the other. Because it's one or the other, it becomes a singular subject and we need a singular verb. So Scott nor Susan is expecting Dave to show up to class, because it's really either Scott is expecting Dave to show up to class or Susan is expecting Dave to show up to class. It's not both of them together. I know this one's going to be confusing as well. We have I and you, and those almost always require a plural verb. We're going to use the verb give. It becomes a plural verb when we hear the word give. If it's a singular verb, we actually would end up saying gives, like he gives him ice cream. But in this case, Dave likes that I give him ice cream. We'd use just give, the plural verb, even though it's confusing because there's an S for singular, I realize. But in this case, give is a plural verb. So remember, with I and you, we use that plural verb. Say it in your head. Does it sound right? Dave likes that I give him ice cream on Sundays. It wouldn't sound right to say, Dave likes that I gives him ice cream on Sundays. In this case, we have plural and singular subjects with or nor, and this is just a great rule to remember. When you're combining a singular and plural subject with or nor, the verb should agree with the subject that's closest to it. So either the chef's or the owner has to prepare Dave's food. If it were flip-flopped, it would sound like the owner or the chefs have to prepare Dave's food. So it's just about being closest to that verb. When we combine two subjects with the word and, our subject is no longer singular, so we will use a plural verb. In this case, Dave and his best friend are entering the trumpet contest. It would probably sound funny to say Dave and his best friend is entering the trumpet contest. So again, we've got Dave and his best friend together means we need that plural verb, are. In this case, we're looking at phrases in between a singular subject and a verb. So the strategy is to cross out that phrase and sort of ignore it, and then look at the subject and see that it agrees with the verb. So take a look at the example. Dave, along with his many brothers, is a big fan of Harry Potter books. It's not Dave and his brothers are. If we had said that and, then we would have gotten to say the verb are. But in this case, because of the phrasing, we have to kind of cross it out in our mind and just look and see that the singular subject agrees with a singular verb. In this case, we're looking at some often confused singular words like either, neither, everyone, anyone, someone, somebody, no one. Those are all considered singular, and so they would require a singular verb. So look at the example. Each of Dave's friends is going home to play video games. We wouldn't want to say each of Dave's friends are going home, because each suggests one singular, which is why we have a singular verb. In this case, we're looking at parts of a whole with a singular subject and verb. So when we have a portion like 50% or 1/3, and then we have the preposition of, we'll look at the next part, Dave's cake. Dave's cake is what we're going to use to help us figure out the verb. Since Dave's cake is singular, we'll use a singular verb, is. If it had said half of Dave's cakes, then we would say are, already gone, because it would be multiple cakes. So in this case, Dave's cake is singular, so we use a singular verb, is. When we are talking about mathematical terms like sum and product, those are singular and they'll always require singular verbs. Dave realized that the sum of 2 and 5 is 7. Again, that's one that just sounds right. When we have here or there, we have to look at the subject that follows the verb to decide whether it would be singular or plural. So in this case, there is a delicious slushie in Dave's possession, singular verb. If it had said something like, there are delicious slushies in Dave's possession, if slushies were plural, then the verb prior to that would also be plural. I think this one is a little bit trickier, so it's a rule that we need to learn. And it has to do with money and time. Anytime there are sums of money or periods of time, they'll require a singular verb, which may go against what you would ordinarily think. Dave hopes that 2 years is all it will take him to make the varsity squad. It wouldn't actually be. Dave hopes that 2 years are all it will take. So keep that in mind. When we have years, when we have sums of money, we're going to use a singular verb. This example reminds me of the example that had to do with phrases, with who, that, and which. We are going to sort of cross out what comes between the subject and the verb, and then we're going to look at that subject and match it up with the verb. So in this case, the robot that does all Dave's homework is making weird noises. So robot and is match up. Those are both singular. If it had been robots, you can hear the difference. The robots that Dave does all Dave's homework are making weird noises. So making sure that that singular verb and that matches up with that singular noun, and we kind of ignore everything in between the subject and verb. A collective noun refers to a group, like team or town, committee, class, or family. And when we have one of those collective nouns, we actually look at it as singular, like it's a singular unit, your family, okay? So in this case, the team of swimmers is going to mention Dave's name tonight. We're not talking about the swimmers. We're talking about the team of swimmers. Because we're looking at team, which is a singular noun, we want to make sure we have a singular verb to match up with it. On the other hand, when we have nouns with multiple parts, we're going to do just the opposite. We're going to make sure that we have a plural verb to go with it. So words like glasses, when we talk about someone's glasses, we never say glass, right? So we've got glasses or scissors, pants, trousers. Words like that, because they are plural in nature, they'll be matched up with a plural verb. So in the example, Dave thought his glasses were on the couch, but they were in the freezer. That's a weird sentence. So in this example, we're talking about singular nouns that end in S. So even though they have that S at the end, it doesn't make them plural. So I'm looking at nouns like news or mathematics. We're still talking about a singular noun. Because we're talking about a singular noun, we're going to match that up with a singular verb. So in this case, the news is going to mention Dave's name tonight. It would sound a little weird to say the news are going to mention Dave's name tonight. We wouldn't want to say are, we would want is. So singular noun, even with an S at the end, is going to have a singular verb. So this is for all my sports fans out there. Sports teams without S's at the end, those are still plural. So take a look at the example. The Red Sox are going to offer Dave a contract tomorrow. Because it's a sports team, you have to read the whole sentence to get the understanding and get the meaning here. We would use a plural verb because that team, even though without an S, we still know that it's plural. In this example, we're looking at some contractions, doesn't and don't. With doesn't, if we break it down, it really means does not, and does is a singular verb, so that's going to need to go with a singular subject. On the other hand, we have don't, that's do not, and do would be a plural verb. So it's important to know doesn't is singular, that goes with a singular subject. Don't is plural, it goes with a plural subject. And we have the example, if Dave doesn't like the idea, he'll never go along with it. It doesn't sound right to say, if Dave don't like the idea, he'll never go along with it. Thanks for watching. Visit noredink.com for more practice.